Yeah, definitely intense. We've been training very, very hard, getting some heat acclimation to be ready to play in heat, but also we know how tight schedule is in Olympics, so we have to make sure we're fit and in form come the 25th. So the place is a bit heavy legged right now because we've trained very, very hard, both gym sessions, running sessions, football sessions. But you also need to balance that, right? Because you don't want to break them, you want to build them. But we're going into this Canada game a bit tired, but that was the plan. Going to see a lot of rotation, a lot of subs in tomorrow's game. In terms of the preparation, the hotel's been fantastic. The training sites is amazing. And the girls have been phenomenal when it comes to their efforts and their professionality. All the long meetings, all the trainings, all the gym sessions, they've been working very, very, very hard. And then the final thing is that we're working again very hard on recovery strategies. We know in a tight schedule that recovery is key between games. So it's been intense, very intense.
As always, please use the raise your hand function and I'll go to you. There will be a question and you'll have the opportunity for a follow-up as well. Marco.
G'day, Tony. Just wanted to check on how Steph Catley and Caitlin Torpia, are they certain to be right for the game against Germany?
A bit too early to say. They're both on individual plans. Both came in with issues into camp. I trust the medical team as always. They do individual plans for the players. What I can say is that we are doing, and I mean everyone is doing everything we can, including Steph and Torpid, to get available. Torpid, we actually have a meeting today regarding Torpid. Torpid is looking good. She did an individual session yesterday as well on the park. So we'll see if, don't want to jump ahead here, but I would love, if possible, to see some minutes. But if not, I'll have to listen to the Triple SM and wait for the 25th.
Follow up.
And with Steph, is it an injury that you didn't think was as serious, or is it serious or not?
I mean, it's a lower leg injury that they just need to make sure that they treat right and don't want to risk anything. Everything is about getting the players available for the 25th. Some players could come in and need to work on fitness. Some players needs to work on a niggle. Some players have a minor injury. It's all about making sure they're ready on the 25th.
Joey.
Thank you, Evan. Tony, we recently saw that late changes come in regarding the replacement player rule and how that will work during the Olympics. How does that affect how you'll be approaching squad management both for this game and during the Olympics itself?
First of all, I think it's a great change considering player welfare and the load for the players over these last couple of years. I think it's massive. I mean, previous rule was that if you rule a player out, they're out for the whole tournament. Now, if let's say for some reason that Caitlin Torpe or Steph Catley is not available for that game on the 25th, I can now use one of the alternates in that 18 game day roster and then bring that player back in again, meaning if it's Steph or Caitlin, for example. That was just as an example. And I think that's massive. Always when they pick a roster, you pick it to make sure that the alternates are ready to step in when needed. So everything we've done since the announcement of the roster is to make sure that those alternates are ready. Everything from game plan, tactics, training, they've been with us every single day here in Marbella as well. So in that sense, it's nothing different. The difference is that we now have more depth and cover if a player is ruled out for a minor injury for one game, that we can now use an alternate for that game day roster of 18 and then we can swap back again.
Follow up, Joey?
And we've often seen you, Tony, over the past few windows where you've gone into friendly games with a particular thing that you want to work on, a particular thing that you want to see from your side. Do you have something like that in mind for the coming game against Canada that we will see out there?
I do. Whether you will see it out there, that's a different thing, but we will try it for sure. Couple of things we've done. One of the reasons we scheduled Canada is that there are, obviously Canada is Canada and it's different than US and Germany, but there are some similarities as well in terms of player profile, physicality, aggressiveness, speed in behind the back lines. You know that when we played Canada before that we've struggled with the runs in behind the back line. If you look at how Germany play, you look at how US play, and you look at Zambia play, all three group stage opponents have great pace up front and threaten in behind our back line. So that's something that we worked on, meaning what does it look like when we attack, what does it look like when we lose the ball, and how can we stop the opposition's transition game, because we will face a lot of pace and transition behind our back line. So that's something we definitely want to work on, see what that looks like. Another thing we want to look at is, as you've seen over the last year, we've tried to develop our build-up, our passing, especially from all the way back from Mecca. And that means teams have come at times, like Mexico press us high. We think 2 out of the 3 group stage teams are going to press us very, very high. So that's something we're going to look at as well. How can we handle that high pressure and aggressive pressure that we think Canada will apply at times in the game, and see if we can be, one, confident and brave enough, but also good enough in our decision making to bypass that press. So that's 2 topics.
Thanks, Joey. We'll head to Erin.
Hi Tony, thanks for making time for chats. Yes, first question, how important is this Canada game in terms of prep for the Olympics? Like you mentioned that they play differently to the teams you're going to come up against, so how are you planning to get the most out of this game?
It's a massive opportunity for us to prepare, and the dialogue with Bev have been phenomenal scheduling this game. Both wanted to be in Europe in the pre-camp, both wanted to be in warm climate. Canada's nearby as well. We communicated early on about this to see how we can help each other prepare. So it's been a very, very good opportunity for us to play Canada. And remember, they are the Olympic champions from last Olympics. So it's also important for us, because over the last year, we haven't played as many games against top oppositions that we did leading into the World Cup for scheduling reasons. So it was also very important for us to get a top opposition in this window before the tournament starts, because everything is faster, you have less time on the ball. When you make a mistake, you get hurt in a different way. And this will be a little bit of a challenge in that sense, because remember that a lot of these players are coming from a break and haven't played a game for a very, very long time. So they haven't played a game in a long time and play Olympic champions, and we are a little bit heavy-legged because we trained hard. So it will be a challenge, but that replicates a little bit what it would be like further down the tournament as well, with heavy legs and playing in heat. So we just need to prepare, and this game is all about preparing for the Olympics. It's not an isolated game per se. It doesn't mean we're not going to try to win, but it's all about preparing for the Olympics.
Follow up?
Thanks, Ed. So you talk about preparing for the Olympics. How much of this camp has been about this Germany game? Are we talking whiteboard sessions and tactical sessions? Is it all about the Germany game, or are you looking forward to the next 2 games as well?
Great question, and that's always the balance as a coach. How much do we spend on each team here in camp? Because all 3 group stages are important, right? But I'll take you back to last week. We choose to do what we did in the World Cup, to have a presentation of every group stage opponent. My analyst, Mare Yac, who's done a phenomenal work together with his scouts and my other staff members in terms of the coaches, done a phenomenal job to package a scout report. So we present all 3 group stage opponents so that they have an idea of this is what it's going to look like. And then when you're out in a training park and you do different drills, you can always reference, okay, this will be good against that opponent, this will be good against that opponent. But now getting closer to it, it's more focused on Germany, because it's all about the opening game mindset-wise. Tactically, we still touch upon the other group opponents as well, but mentally it's all about the opening game against Germany from now on.
Vince, followed by James.
Thanks, Anne. Hi, Tony. Just on the injuries at the moment and the rule change, would it be fair to suggest or say that if it wasn't for the rule change, that maybe Steph in particular, by the sound of it, might be in a bit of trouble in terms of her involvement in the Olympics, given you would have had to, probably shuffle your squad around maybe, or take the risk of having her in your squad, not knowing when she might be right?
Say that again. Sorry, Vince, I didn't get. Do you mean Sam or did you mean Steph? What did you mean there? Sorry, I didn't get that.
Steph, sorry. Trust me, I won't be asking any Sam Kerr questions today. I'm talking more about Steph Catley and just, if the IOC didn't make that rule change around the alternates, would she be in trouble for her involvement in the apology?
Okay. I'm with you. Nah.
You have to decide to leave her out or include her in the squad.
Yeah.
Which is injured.
Okay. I get you. No, we actually we already had made, before we even know the rule change, we had made a decision to say that Steph is with us. Everything we do is to make her available for the 25th. Let's say in a few days from now that I get a decision that she won't be able for 25th, even if it wasn't a rule change, I would have kept her. It's Steph Catley, it's our captain, and if we have her available for second game or third game, I would have kept her. That's how important she is to this team.
Yeah, great. And just on Steph, I mean, is there anything more you can tell us just around the injury itself and sort of how it happened? Because I presume she was on holiday somewhere, and there's a few different ways I guess you could get an injury to your lower leg.
Yeah, I wish I could, but I want to respect Steph, the club, and the environment outside of here. Always when something happens outside of our environment, I think it's not our responsibility to communicate it. The only thing I can say is that she's here now. She has a lower leg injury, and we're doing everything to get her back.
Okay, we go to James.
Thanks, Anne. And Tony, James Broadhurst here from Network 10. I just wanted to ask, in terms of your priorities coming into this match, you've touched on it briefly already, but are you prepared to roll the dice a little bit more with less at stake in the game against Canada as you come up for your first round in the Olympics?
I'd say we need to approach this game as it is the Olympics, because I think otherwise we don't train the mental part of the game if we look at it too different. We need to approach it as this is the Olympics and play that way. Whether it's our tactics, our lineups, our game changers, a different way we look at it, we have to look at it that way. The difference is that we're looking at a game from a physical perspective as well. And like I said, we've trained really, really, really hard. And one of the reasons why we agreed with Canada to have unlimited subs in this game is that we knew that both teams came from a longer break with some players, and both teams wanted to train hard to prep for it, and also we wanted to make sure that we could use more players than you normally do in a game like this to get the chance to get minutes on all the players that could be valuable and important for us in the Olympics. And that way it will be a little bit different when it comes to minutes and the number of subs, but mindset and tactics will be like it is in Olympic Games.
Follow up, James?
Yeah, just in terms of finding a little bit of balance, obviously it's a pretty golden opportunity to build a bit of cohesion and familiarity in the squad. Are you going to be utilising a few of the players that might not see a lot of time on the park once you enter the group stage of the Olympics to try and build a little bit of familiarity and thinking worst case scenario moving forward?
Definitely, but for other reasons than what you asked actually. I've always talked about how important is with the finishing 11, not just the starting 11, and for that reason it's very, very important that multiple players get playing time as well. And with a very narrow roster, even though we have the alternates available to be replaced, on game day we still only have 18 players, 16 plus 2, which means every single player that sit on that bench during a game is going to have to be ready. Tactically, mentally, physically, and that cohesion and connection as well. And we looked at that in training here as well, and make sure that no matter if it's these two center midfielders or those two, or if it's that right side or another right side, or if it's this combination of 9 and 10 or this combination of 9 and 10, that everyone have an understanding that collectively this is what we want to do, but individually we want the players to be themselves. So it's different if we play with a speedy 9 than a linking 9, for example. It's different if we play a 2 feet number 7 that dribbles than a penetrating behind the back line number 7. So those things have definitely been worked on, and it's important that all those players get minutes in this game so that we all are prepared come the Olympics.
Anna Harrington.
Hi Tony, hope you're well. Just speaking to the players this week, it sounds like Ellie and Hayley and Minnie have all said there's this extra steel to the team in terms of they feel more prepared now to go and actually claim that medal. Obviously they've fallen short just a couple of times, but they seem to think it's steeled them and made them more ready. Have you got that impression that anything's changed, that they feel more ready, I guess, to take that next step?
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned this. I remember we had some conversations before the World Cup, and I felt we were prepared and ready for the World Cup. I really did. We did 2 years planning of how to be prepared for that World Cup on home soil, handling everything from the mental side of things to high pressure stake games and being in the Olympic semi-final before. And I think already there we did a really good job to prepare the players, and I think that's one of the reasons we could perform like we did against Canada in that group stage game, for example, and make it all the way to the semi-final and the PK shootout against France and such. But you know what it's like in life, like when you get experience that can't be replicated in training. So I think that World Cup on home soil made them even better prepared for this tournament. And the other thing I could say is this is the 4th tournament for me with this team. So I also think this team feels better prepared in that sense that this is now the 4th tournament we're going together. A lot of players have played together for a long time. The tactics, the work we've done after the World Cup to have the base structure and the base and the core of what we did in the World Cup as the building block, but then working on developing that game style over a year going into this tournament, hopefully have made them feel what you sense that they feel, and I feel something similar. I feel there's a vibe here, there's a commitment, there's a determination, there's a belief. We know Olympics is going to be tough. I mean, we're not even ranked top 8. So in terms of ranking, maybe we shouldn't even make it to the quarterfinal. Maybe we on paper are not the best team. But the one thing this team knows is that we can beat any team. And that's what Olympics is about. It's going to be a tight tournament. You need to get out of that group. And once you get out of that group, anything can happen. That's how tight it is. And that's our mindset, to be prepared for what's coming. And I think we feel prepared, and the players definitely feel prepared.
Follow up, Anna?
Yeah, Tony, I guess I remember, I guess it's 3 years ago now, when you spoke about Mary Fowler and also Kyra Penny-Cross, said, I just want Mary to sparkle, Kyra to sparkle, with young players with no pressure on them. They're obviously far more established now. Can you just talk to those 2 players, Mary and Kyra, as to the roles they play now? Because they are really, I guess, stars and well-known players in this team now, and what sort of responsibilities they now have.
I think when you mention those players, I also think they personalize a little bit the journey of this team. If you look at that first Olympics, Kyra Penny-Cross had 0 caps in Tokyo. I think Mary had maybe 3 or something like that. And I think both of them are above 50 now, caps. So if you look at their journey, I think they represent a little bit the journey of the team as well, where we're not only competing in major tournaments, we're building depth in the roster as well. And that's 2 young players that now goes into a tournament with much more experience, much more caps under the belt, but also maturity as players, looking what they've experienced in clubland and with the Matildas. They're going in much more ready to take a bigger responsibility. There's still experienced players there that can kind of be the natural leaders of the team, if that makes sense. But both Kyra and Mary can lead by the way they play. If you look at Kyra Penny-Cross, who's been consistent playing centre mid for us, that's the heart, the engine in everything we do. No matter who she plays with in that centre mid, everything we do is based on what happens in the centre of the park. And then you look at Mary, who's been just phenomenal in the end of the season with City, and then for us also been good, but I want to make her great, because it's my job to make sure we find her more often. And that's actually been a very, very important topic for us over these last 10 days, is how can we find Mary more in the game? How can we get her more involved? What plays do we need around her? What spaces do we need to open up? And how can I utilize Mary even more? Because once she's on the ball, she can do things that very few players can do. So they're going into the tournament with a different role in this team for sure. But I also want to balance that and ease the pressure on them, because there's still experienced players that should carry this team, and they're still young players. But they should just be Kyra and be Mary, because that's when they are at their best.
Thanks, Anna. And the final question goes to Joey Lynch.
Tony, just wanted to ask you, Mackenzie Arnold was revealed as a Portland's player earlier this week, and I guess your tenure at the Matildas commenced with pretty much all of the squad looking to England and looking to Europe as their next club destination, but now we're seeing Mackenzie Arnold, who ostensibly would have had a lot of interest in England and Europe, opt instead for the American League. What do you think that says about the current state of the NWSL, and do you think we're seeing the pendulum now swing away from England and maybe more to a balanced look on both sides of the Atlantic?
This is a big and a very interesting question, I think, what's happening in the women's club landscape as we speak. Everything from investor that's gone in to pitch in a lot of money in different franchises, whether that is in Europe or the US. We see more investment, we see an increase in salary, we see an increase in transfer fees. We see players moving across the Atlantic both ways. I think there's not going to be one right answer to this saying this is the league that's going to dominate the world or this is where to be. It's going to be what's best for that individual player. But then you add to that as well how interesting it would be with the Club World Cup coming up. And I think probably some of the leagues are going to see that as very important because they want to, status themselves as being the best league in the world and such. So there'll be some prestige and competition in that Club World Championship that comes up as well. I think this is an interesting question, Joe, but right now when I'm in this Olympic bubble and I'm just focusing on the Olympics, I would love to pick up that debate post-Olympic, but I think it's a great question. For me, what I care about is Macca doing what's best for Macca, and she felt that this was the best move for her, and I'll support that.